Hello everyone, hello everybody. So now I am starting my first Walking Dead What If series. So for this one we're gonna make our own scenario of what if Carl Grimes survived, like what if he never got bit. I've been trying to make this video for a while now, but I didn't have the time to do it, but we'll do it now. Anyway, let's get started with the story. Here we go. So the scene starts off in the woods. Carl offers the food and water to Sadiq like in canon, and Sadiq thanks Carl for doing this. And Sadiq asks Carl is he in honor of his parents. And then Carl and Sadiq have the same conversation talk like they did in canon in season 8. And then Sadiq is attacked by a walker and Carl tries to intervene like in canon. The thing plays out the same. And then Carl eventually removes the walker off him, but with the second one's a little difficult for him. Carl has to act fast before the walker can bite him. Anyway, Carl kicks the walker off him, and then the walker falls to the ground. And then Carl picks up his gun, and then shoots the walkers, and then Sadiq walks up to Carl and asks Carl if he's okay, and Carl tells him that he's alright. And then Carl asks Sadiq that they can leave the woods because Carl shot the walkers, and the sound could attract more walkers if they don't leave the woods. And then Carl arrives to Alexandria outside the wall and asks Sadiq to wait here while he talks to his dad like in canon. Everything plays out the same. But in this scenario, Carl never gets big because he kicked the walker off him and then he shot the walkers. And then the next scene rolls up. Carl is taking a walk with his dad Rick, and Carl tells Rick that there is no need for him to kill the rest of the saviors. He needs to tell him that there's a way to fight for it. He needs to make peace with Negan. Carl doesn't want war anymore. He wants everything to be in peace. And then Carl does not tell his dad Rick about Sadiq. Carl probably will tell Rick about Sadiq eventually, but it's his decision. Back at Alexandria, Carl asks about Michonne. Anyway, he gives him a letter about Michonne, and Carl reads the letter. Since Carl didn't get bit here, he does not read goodbye letters to everyone. Carl plays with Judith like in original, like in canon, and then Carl and Sadiq are literally in the sewers like in canon. Everything plays out the same because Carl never got bit because he kicked the walkers off him and then he shot them. And that's what happened here in this scenario. Carl never gets bit here, so let's continue on. What I meant to say was, since Carl never got bit here, he doesn't write goodbye letters to everyone. He doesn't write letters to anybody because since Carl was still alive, he never got bit by the walker because he pushed the walker off and then he kicked the other walker off him and then he shot the walker. Since Carl never got bit here, he doesn't do letters to anybody. He doesn't give anybody any letters because Carl is still alive. Anyway, let's continue on with the story. Michonne finds Carl and asks what is he doing, and Carl says that he's helping somebody, and Michonne says in the sewers. Then Michonne and Carl hear a banging noise, and it's Negan and the Saviors have arrived outside the Alexandria walls. Carl tells everyone to regroup and go somewhere. He'll meet them up there. Carl suggests that everybody should follow his plan. He knows what to do about this. Anyway, let's continue on with the story. Anyways, Negan and the Saviors are literally outside the Alexandria walls, and everything plays out the same. Carl tries to reason with Negan, have a talk with him, and Negan understands where Carl is coming from. And then after what happens next, Negan realizes that Carl is gone, and Negan curses out Carl like in canon, and he tells the Sabres to bomb the Alexandria walls, like blow it up and stuff, and everything goes out the same. Carl has a hard time walking around the place since houses are getting blown up. Anyway, let's continue on. Then Rick and Michonne arrive at the stores, meeting up with everybody else who is there. Anyway, Rick spots Sadiq in the distance of the sewer, and Rick is really confused why he's there. And Carl tells his dad that he's the one who brought him there, and Carl suggests that everybody should go to Hilltop until the Saviors go away, until the Saviors are done doing what they're doing to Alexandria. Dwight suggested that they should wait until it's over. And then Carl suggests to Daryl that they should go to Hilltop and wait for this to be over. Eventually, Rick and Daryl eventually agree to Carl's plan, and then there it goes. Next up, Dwight and the Saviors and Simon arrive at Hilltop, and then they eventually overpower them with their guns. Rick and Carl do this, and the Saviors eventually retreat, and they try to figure out what's going on. Why did they attack? Anyways, after the whole Walker incident at Hilltop, due to Negan's Walker bloodbath, what happened in that episode, we fast forward to the next scene about what happened. The next day, Carl walkie-talkies Negan, has a talk with him after what he just did in the Saviors. Carl suggests to Negan that they should stop the war and have peace and not do this war anymore. And then Negan tells Carl that there's no way getting out of no. His dad wanted him dead no matter what. And Carl is not listening to Negan. Carl just wants peace. Eventually, Negan tells Carl to be quiet and shut up, and then he's telling him that there's no way getting out of it now. He says no more talking. Then Negan eventually smashes and breaks the walkie-talkie, and then Carl is devastated to hear Negan say this to him. The next day after this, Carl has a talk with Siddiq and Rick, and Carl tells his dad what Negan just said to him, and Rick is devastated and shocked to hear what Negan said to him. Anyways, Morgan walks over here, and Carl tells Morgan that he should stay behind, and Morgan says that he wants to go to the war, and Rick and everybody else gets ready for the war. And now we fast forward to the season finale of season 8. Eventually, the Saber's bullets end up not working, and Negan hurts his hand in the process by shooting the gun, and Gabriel punches Negan in the face, and Rick and the others continue on in the war. Rick and Negan still have their fight, and Carl doesn't like seeing this, and Carl tries to break them up from fighting. Eventually, Negan pushes Carl to the ground, and Rick gets mad and kicks Negan, and he falls to the ground, and that's what happens. Rick tries to reason with Negan, and Rick is trying to tell Negan to listen to Carl what he's trying to tell him, and then Rick cuts Negan's throat like he does in canon. And then Carl tells Rick to do the right thing. And then Rick eventually listens to his son, and then they save Negan's life. Siddiq does, and then Maggie is telling Rick to kill Negan, that it's over, and Rick disagrees with her. And then that's the end of the war battle for now. And then Negan wakes up. Michonne and Rick tell Negan that he was wrong about everything that he did, and Rick says that he's not gonna hurt. And Rick tells Negan that he's gonna rot in a cell and watch everything happen, and Michonne says for the rest of his life. And then Carl is relieved to see what Negan is finally getting what he deserves. And that marks the end of this story video. What did you guys think of What If Carl Wasn't Bitten part 1 of this video? And that's the end of this video. Well guys, I'll be back next week for part 2 of What If Carl Was Never Bitten. Anyway, I gotta go now. Bye guys.